Hello, sneak peekers. I'm Simi.
And I'm Sydney.
Welcome to our first episode of the semester. We hope you all are having a great start to the school year.
I know I am. It's so exciting to be back on campus and in the studio this year. Speaking of which, we have a lot to cover tonight, so let's get started.
For the last few months, there's only been one thing on my mind, the divorce between John Mulaney and Anna Marie Tendler.
I'm still heartbroken about that.
I know, right? And I just want to know who got custody of their dog, Petunia.
Poor Petunia. The news of the split came after John Mulaney reportedly checked himself into rehab for a 60-day treatment program last December.
Although he has been open about his struggles with alcoholism in the past, this and the sudden news of the divorce has taken fans by surprise.
Perhaps even more surprising was the recent pregnancy announcement between John Mulaney and actress Olivia Munn during Mulaney's appearance on Late Night with Seth Meyers.
I'm still in shock about that. I didn't even realize the two of them were together, but I'm excited that he seems to be doing well and that he's back to performing. I wish him and Olivia Munn nothing but the best.
Speaking of performing, have you heard about Scarlett Johansson's big lawsuit against Disney?
I did hear about that. Apparently she filed the suit because she lost potential earnings since Black Widow was released simultaneously on Disney Plus and in theaters.
That's right. Even though the film has grossed almost $500 million in theaters worldwide since its release in July, Johansson said the simultaneous release strategy was a breach of her contract and that she lost on some of her earnings because of that.
I also thought that Disney filed a motion last month to settle the lawsuit with Johansson behind closed doors.
Well, apparently her lawyers don't agree with that. I guess we'll see what happens when the first hearing happens on October 15th in the Los Angeles Superior Court.
Something else that happened recently with the Los Angeles Superior Court was the filing from Jamie Spears to finally step down as Britney Spears' conservator.
Yes, Jamie essentially controlled Britney's life and her money for nearly 13 years as the conservatorship began in 2008 after she suffered a public breakdown the year before.
Within that time, though, Britney was still able to perform, tour, and release new music.
It's difficult to think about how successful she was, but how miserable she must have felt throughout it all.
No, right? In court, she even says that she wants to press charges against her father for conservatorship abuse.
This whole situation has been sad, but it's good that she has been able to through the conservatorship and that it will soon be coming to an end.
Absolutely. I'm happy that things are looking up for her.
In other news, on September 13th, the 2021 Met Gala, also known as fashion's biggest night out, took place in New York City.
The theme for this year's gala was American Independence, but I completely forgot that was the theme when Kim Kardashian arrived.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway,
In other news, on September 13th, the 2021 Met Gala, also known as fashion's biggest night out, took place in New York City.
The theme for this year's gala was American Independence, but I completely forgot that was the theme when Kim Kardashian arrived.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, let's go hear what Mason and Aaron have to say about it. Take it away, guys.
Hey sneak peekers, welcome to this semester's first Style Squad. Today, Aaron and I are going to review some of our favorite and least favorite looks from the 2021 Met Gala. This year, the gala's theme of American Independence provided a broad category that allowed each designer to present their own unique interpretation. And for the most part, the Met's attendees did not disappoint. Co-chairing the event, Billie Eilish, Timothée Chalamet, Amanda Gorman, and Naomi Osaka all served very different looks that incorporated a wide variety of cultural references. Between them, I personally preferred Billie's Oscar de la Renta ball gown with its explicit references to Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield's 50s Hollywood style.
Looking outside of the co-chairs, my favorite looks came from Tiana Taylor, Saweetie, and Emma Chamberlain. Saweetie was wearing Christian Cohen, and it was giving all the way. She had some elegance along with some spiciness. The body goals were 100% there. Next, we have Emma Chamberlain, who is wearing a custom Louis Vuitton. She states in an interview with Access that I don't normally dress up and I don't normally wear things like this, which is totally the truth, because I've seen her style and it's more casual and vintage looking. However, everything about the look was gorgeous. Last but not least, getting to my favorite, Teyana Taylor. She wore a Powell Grunrung. My thoughts on it would definitely be that she was giving body and came with the whole package deal. Her hair, jewelry, and the whole outfit complemented one another. In my opinion, Teyana is always bringing it with every outfit that she wears, whether it's at an event or just in general. It blows me away. What do you think, Mason?
I definitely have to second your thoughts on Teyana Taylor, Erin. She definitely made my top 3, along with Jeremy Pope and Quanah Chasing Horse, who both featured some incredible looks. With Pope and Chasing Horse, I think the theme was executed very well while still meeting the high fashion expectations associated with the Met. On the flip side, I was disappointed by Kim Kardashian, Diane Kruger, and Camila Cabello. While I think the concept behind Kim's covered look was interesting, the execution was underwhelming. Similarly, I think Kruger's look could have actually been fairly compelling with a different fabric and a softer color. Now, looking at Camila Cabello, I don't want to be too harsh considering the critical reception behind Cinderella 2021, but her purple two-piece was honestly just boring and inexpensive looking to me.
I would have to agree on that. Her outfit, especially her top, was giving off dance costume vibes that you would wear at a dance recital. It didn't seem too thought out and it wasn't eye-catching. Moving on with A$AP Rocky, I'm not being funny, but his outfit looks like a quilt that he is roaming around the house in. It wasn't working for me. Lastly, Kim Kardashian. I didn't and still don't understand the look and what she was going for. The outfit was very simple in my eyes and wasn't impressive at all. I love me some of Kim's looks, but I'm sorry, I just wasn't feeling this one this time around.
Definitely. On a whole, I think one of the night's biggest trends would be patchwork and recycled materials. Looking at Will Welch's patchwork suit, Debbie Harry's repurposed denim blazer, and Lord's metallic fringe made from actual pennies, this style was definitely a staple on the red carpet. I actually really liked this trend as I think it reflected ingenuity and diversity in an interesting way.
Wait a minute, I have to mention something that the Met Gala panel consistently brought up, which was the butt cracks, as they called it, butt cleavage being revealed by Teyana Taylor and Taraji P. Henson. Personally, it's not something I would do, but that they pulled it off pretty well for it to be intentional. I also have to add something that has been circling around the internet, which is A$AP Rocky's outfit. A lot of people are referring to his look as what I believe is the best cereal in the world, Captain Crunch. I had to mention that, however, it is true. I'm not gonna lie. I still think it looks like a quilt though. Anyway, that's all for today's Style Squad sneak peekers.
Sydney, have you watched the new movie Hes All That on Netflix?
I have, and it was interesting to say the least.
That's what I heard. Well, Ryan and Timo recently watched the movie as well and decided to make a review. So let's hear what they thought of it.
Hey sneak peekers! For me, life in the past month has been dominated by one thing. Not school, no, but instead god-awful romantic comedies made exclusively for Netflix that feel as if they were commissioned straight out of Wattpad. That's why, of course, nothing enticed me more than the sweet pleasure of this genre embodied in Hes All That.
The film follows Paget, played by TikTok star Addison Rae, in her narrative film debut. Because why not? She makes a bet that she can take the most loserly guy in high school and turn him into the prom king, and per genre conventions, learns a little heartfelt lessons along the way. Actually, speaking of, we are just about to get ready for prom ourselves. If you maybe wanted to, I don't know, come along with us, hear a couple thoughts about the film. Yeah? Alright, cool. You're in for a treat. Timo's in desperate need of a makeover.
The first thing to talk about in any film is obviously the story, but in this way, Hes All That is an exception. First, of course, because the story is poorly copy and pasted from the original film, 1999's She's All That, which is admittedly much better. But also because the most notable new content in this version is random product placements. Half the dialogue contains pointless brand name drops which are completely unnecessary. I personally am very against product placement.
This film depended on solid performances to sell the tired story, but Addison Rae's delivery of some of the most emotional lines in the film were as dry as, say, my mouth before a rushing can of Coca-Cola. It's good. This isn't all Addison's fault, admittedly. Patch's characterization is very shallow. Despite the film's lazy attempts to convince us of her depth, it's all surface level. We never get to unearth new things about Paget because everything we need to know, even her emotional core, is shown in the first 5 minutes. It feels like we're forced to like her because of her actions, but we never feel invested in her as a character.
That's not to say that all the characters are bad. One standout is Bryn, the love interest's little sister. She actually does get an emotional beat towards the climax of the film. She's a really great character, you know, with good head on her shoulders.
Speaking of...
Additionally, we would be remiss if we did not mention that Kourtney Kardashian is in this film. And although it is so obvious that her scenes were shot in one day, it's just bizarre enough to still be somewhat interesting. We also have some repeat actors from the original Hes All That, the best being Matthew Lillard, who plays a high school principal. Any Matthew Lillard in any film is great, and so in a film like this, he is an oasis of talent and charisma amidst a desert of mostly bland and uninspiring performances.
You ready? We can't let this review end without talking about some of the filmmaking choices. Hes All That is so dedicated to replicating TikTok culture that the whole film looks like it was shot on an iPhone. And don't get me started about the huge amount of awful, poorly done green screen scenes for the most trivial locations. If you're gonna have a boring background, why not shoot on location? Credit to where credit is due though. The film did shoot on location when it shut down Union Station, a huge major COVID testing site in downtown LA during the height of the pandemic, for a scene that could have taken place literally anywhere. I think I'm about ready. Timo?
Obviously, we're not exactly the target audience for Hes All That. And while I can say without a doubt that I hated it, I had a really fun time watching this film. Call me crazy, but I do get a lot of enjoyment out of yelling at the ridiculousness of what's happening on screen. But that does not excuse just how terrible this gigantic advertisement for TikTok is. So Hes All That gets a 0 out of 5 stars from me.
Listen, this was a bad movie and I won't argue otherwise, but it was a lot of fun and I am a Matthew Lillard fan. So respectfully, I'll give it half a star. Anyways, that's all from us. Thanks so much for watching, and now back to the hosts.
Thanks for that, guys. The big takeaway I'm getting from the review is that I probably shouldn't waste my time watching the movie.
If you can stand watching Addison Rae's acting for an hour and a half minutes, check it out. Otherwise, skip it.
I think I'd rather check out some of the amazing shows that won at the Primetime Emmy Awards on Sunday instead.
Agreed. And Grace is here with us tonight to tell us all about the night's big winners.
Let's hear it, Grace.
Television's biggest night, the 73rd Annual Emmys Awards, took place this past Sunday night. After last year's virtual ceremony, this ceremony was mostly in person, and there were definitely lots of great moments that I'm excited to talk about tonight. So let's dive right in. After a wonderful red carpet with lots of great looks, some of our favorites including Pose's MJ Rodriguez, Bridgerton's Regé-Jean Page, and the host Cedric the Entertainer, the ceremony dove right into the awards. That's not to say there weren't fun moments to be had. There were certainly some funny sketches, including an Emmys Losers support group with Jason Alexander and Zoe Deschanel. There were also some funny presenters, including the reunion of the cast of Schitt's Creek, who presented the best writing and best directing in a comedy series. The comedy series was an interesting race this year. Frontrunner status seemed to have been given to Apple TV's Ted Lasso ever since it first came out. Jason Sudeikis won Best Comedy Actor at last year's Golden Globes, and for the first few comedy awards, it seemed as if Ted Lasso was going all the way. That is until the winners of Best Writing and Best Directing categories were announced, both going to HBO Showbiz comedy Hacks, starring Jean Smart, who then went on to win Best Comedy Actress. The two shows were neck and neck, with 3 awards each. In the end, Ted Lasso won the category's top prize, Best Comedy Series, but it was nice to see a little bit of variety. That being said, there were lots of great comedy shows this year, and it would have been nice to see a few more be represented among the winners, whether that was Hulu's Pen 15, HBO's Flight Attendant, or one of the many other shows nominated. Next up, we'll talk about the Drama Awards, which was dominated by a single program. Netflix's The Crown swept all 7 awards, with Josh O'Connor's Prince Charles, Tobias Menzies' Prince Philip, Gillian Anderson's Margaret Thatcher, and Olivia Colman's Queen Elizabeth II, all winning the Drama Acting Awards. Coleman's win over Emma Corrin's Princess Diana was interesting, considering Corrin's Golden Globes win. The Crown's victory in Best Writing, Best Directing, and Best Drama Series were all quite monumental for the show, which has won acting awards in the past, but almost always looked over in the big three categories. Although it was tough to see the same program win so many times, especially amidst fantastic series like Pose, The Boys, The Mandalorian, and Lovecraft County, it was great to see the Crown rewarded for a great season. Finally, we have to talk about the most competitive race of the night, the Limited Series Awards. Arguably the most stacked nominees included Netflix's The Queen's Gambit, HBO's I May Destroy You and Mayor of Easttown, Amazon's The Underground Railroad, and Disney Plus's WandaVision. Mayor of Easttown won the most awards of the race, winning Best Actress for Kate Winslet, Best Supporting Actor for Evan Peters, and Best Supporting Actress for Julianne Nicholson. Best Lead Actor went to Ewan McGregor for Netflix's TV movie Halston, in a surprise upset where he beat both leads from Hamilton and Paul Bettany for WandaVision. Best Writing in a Limited Series went to Michaela Cole for I May Destroy You, which marks the first time an African-American woman has ever won in this category. Best Directing and Best Limited Series both went to The Queen's Gambit, despite the Queen herself, Anya Taylor-Joy, losing to Kate Winslet in the Lead Actress category. It was nice seeing a bit more programs win in this race, although admittedly, the lack of recognition for fantastic programs like The Underground Railroad or WandaVision was a bit disappointing. Elsewhere, RuPaul's Drag Race, John Oliver, and Saturday Night Live took home Emmys, as did Hamilton, over other variety specials like Bo Burnham's masterful Inside, Dave Chappelle's heartbreaking 846, and David Byrne's transcendent American Utopia. All in all, it was a good ceremony, and as past Emmy winners like Succession, What We Do in the Shadows, and American Crime Story begin their new seasons, it's hard to not look forward to next year's ceremony. Tweet at us at Sneak Peek TV and tell us what winners surprised you, what was snubs, and what were your favorite moments. Now,
I don't know about you, but I spent a good amount of my summer watching all the new shows and movies that came out.
Me too. There were definitely a lot.
That's why we have Kelsey here to share with us 10 of her must-watches from this summer.
Take it away, Kelsey.
Hey Sneak Peekers, this summer was the first time since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic that we got to see a lot of TV shows and movies being released. There were so many releases to watch, but luckily for you, I watched a lot of them. So here are my top 10 watches from this summer. For movies released this summer, one of my top picks includes Cruella, starring Emma Stone. The film, which premiered on May 28th, follows Estelle through her villain origin story to becoming Cruella de Vil. My next movie pick is Free Guy, starring Ryan Reynolds, which premiered on August 13th and takes us through the story of a bank teller who begins to realize that he is a background character in a video game. Another blockbuster movie released this summer was the long-awaited Black Widow, starring Scarlett Johansson. Released on July 9th, this movie takes us through the story of Natasha Romanoff, or Black Widow, and shows us her story prior to becoming an Avenger in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Another Marvel movie released this summer was Shang-Chi, starring Simu Liu. Released on September 3rd, this movie introduces us to a new Marvel superhero and all of us Marvel fans, and his story as we see him confronting his past and moving into the newest phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The next movie on my summer watch list was A Quiet Place Part 2, starring Emily Blunt and directed by John Krasinski. Released on May 28th, this sequel follows a family story and how they have to survive in silence from the creatures that hunt for sound. The last movie on my summer watch list was Luca, released on June 18th. This animated feature follows a coming-of-age story of a boy named Luca and his story about exploring the human world as a sea monster. And now for my top TV picks from this summer. A big fan favorite that was released on Netflix this summer was Season 2 of Outer Banks. Following a group of teenagers looking for treasure, this show reached the #1 spot on a lot of streamers' top 10 lists, including mine. So if you haven't watched Outer Banks, you should probably go check it out. Another huge hit this summer was the show on Netflix called Manifest. This show is about a group of people on a flight who went missing and showed up 5 years later, and the things that they go through now, well, you'll just have to watch and see. All of us Marvel fans were spoiled this summer from all of the TV shows that Marvel released. The show that made it into my top 10 was Loki. This show followed Loki, a Marvel villain, through his story, and what happens towards the end sets up many Marvel movies coming to us in the future. The last show on my top 10 list was iCarly. A reboot of a childhood favorite show takes us through this new chapter with Carly, Freddie, and Spencer. So, sneak peekers, if you haven't checked out these movies and TV shows, I highly recommend all of them to you.
Thank you, Kelsey, for sharing your summer watches with us. I'll be sure to watch Free Guy on my free time.
And I'll have to watch Loki at some point. It's in my queue for months.
Well, sneak peekers, that's all the time we have for this week.
Thanks for joining us on our first episode of the semester, and be sure to tune in next week for even more entertainment news.
Goodbye and
good night.